here. Oh, yes, we are ready for cooking video 79 with me. Yes, cooking video 79 with me. Oh, I got some Texas Trinity going on. We got some cooking with Jack going on. I didn't get to it last time. So, fuck it, let's just get into this.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Chud's Barbecue. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made this. Beautiful, delicious, smoky, scratch-made, juicy, tender, amazing brisket, ribs, and sausage, all made on a pellet grill with some homemade white bread, some onions, some house-made pickles, and of course some homemade barbecue sauce for the ultimate pellet grill Texas barbecue experience. Coming up. This is a brisket. Pat it dry. And what I got here is a brisket, a USDA prime brisket. Picked it up at my local grocery store, and it's not the best looking brisket I've ever seen. Not the best marbling, kind of a weird shape, but pickings were pretty slim at the grocery store, and we'll take what we can get. Oh my goodness, what was that? Oh. Beautiful. But either way, it should work out just fine for what we're doing today. And today is the grand finale of the Pellet Grill series. And if you've been following along over the last 6 months on this channel, we have been throwing everything we got at that pellet grill all the time.
Again, I'm not the biggest fan of pellet grills. I don't think you get a good, bit of smoke. You do get smoke, but it's a kind of a mild smoke. But I can accept the benefit of the pellet grill. And that is set it and forget it. You don't got to do dick. The way I smoke meat, I manage a fire.
Typical barbecue cuts, and it's done a great job so far. But one thing I haven't done is a big barbecue spread. So today we're going to find out if we can cook the Texas Trinity of brisket, ribs, and sausage all on one pellet grill in a reasonable amount of time. And we'll probably make some pickles and bread and sauce along the way because we got some time to kill while this thing cooks. But first things first, we got to get this bad boy trimmed up, starting with this big decal fat on the back. Just zip that right on out of there. Beautiful. And get this backside cleaned up a little bit. Big chunk of fat. God, this is an ugly brisket. Take down some of this burnt side a little bit, and some of this fat as well.
Yeah, that is kind of actually an ugly brisket. I don't know where the fuck you got that from, boy.
And just like that, backside looking nice and clean, so we'll go ahead and flip it over. Ooh, how you doing? Flatten it out, and we'll start taking down this fat between the two muscles, and flatten out this big point muscle here.
By the way, if you buy a brisket already cut, go for the flat side, much more meat.
Got a lot of extra point muscle on the very end, so we'll probably round that off as well. Just trying to give it some good shape, make sure everything is nice and aerodynamic. Start taking down this fat cap a little bit, trying to ignore this giant gash that came in the brisket. Always got to check for those. Hard to tell through the plastic sometimes though. And get this fat cap taken down because we want some fat, but not too much fat. Kind of the beauty of brisket trims. No matter how ugly a brisket starts out, you can usually get them looking pretty nice. Chud scrape. And now it's time to give this thing some shape. We got a lot of this muscle over here we can take down, and it's looking a little bit long, so we'll probably just come and swoop it right around there. Rounding off every corner. I might have to take back what I said earlier. Some briskets just kind of stay ugly, but decent looking trim on that. Good fat cap on there, nice and clean on the backside, good amount of fat. It should cook up nicely. So all we're gonna do now is get this thing seasoned up. Might as well get all this trim processed while we're here. But seasoning of
Why would you do that?
choice today is some good old-fashioned Chud's Barbecue SPG, my brisket rub of choice. And basically for pretty much anything with a fat cap on there, where you're trying to get a Texas-style bark, the SPG never fails. And it's very pepper heavy, which will help you get that nice bark. And it's not too salty, so you can't really oversalt anything. Very convenient. So just a nice healthy coating, folks, all the way around. We're not going to forget the sides, you know.
Did you remind to tell your viewers to pat that down with paper towels so they can actually get that effect?
Drill at this point. And as good as SPG is by itself, if you want to add a little extra salty pop, some Chud's Barbecue Secret Salt will get the job done. Just a light coating. Beautiful. Flip it over. And we'll do the same to the top side. Don't be shy, no need for a slather or anything like that. Oops. And that is looking pretty much perfect to me. Let's go ahead and fire up the pit.
Well, season the sides.
Boop. And on the pit we go. We're gonna aim this fatty burn end side toward the back of the pit because there tends to be a hot spot over there. Get this situated nicely. Top rack right in the middle. Normal placement for where I like to cook most things on this pit. Got that pit coming up to temp at 180 degrees for a nice low and slow start.
All-purpose is equal amounts salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. You mix them all together. You pour them into a shaker. That's your all-purpose.
Which is actually probably closer to 200, 225 on that top rack, but that's what I did in my first brisket video on the pellet grill, and it worked out very well. As for pellets, I'm going on with my trusty smoking pecan shell pellets. These have not steered me wrong during this series. They produce a lot of smoke, a lot of great flavor, and they work really well. And they're made out of 100% pecan shells, no fillers or wood or anything like that, but definitely my pellet of choice. And if you want to pick some up for yourself, check out my link down below. Save a little money on your first order. But this is a Texas style brisket, so I do have to put some post oak smoke on that brisket somehow. And last time I did the brisket on the pellet grill, I took some chunks of post oak and just threw them right into the burn pot, kind of like a Woodwind Pro, and it worked out all right, but it still wasn't as smoky as I wanted it to be, and I think that's because with the fan in there, it was just burning the chunks
Then you're gonna have to get some fucking oak pellets.
up too efficiently. So today we're gonna bust out the trusty smoke tube. And just like in the bologna video, I'm gonna pull out some of these. These are some pellets that my buddy Abdul sent me.
I don't know, maybe I'll have to give pellet smokers another shot.
Some nice post oak pellets, and he also sent me a little bag of some post oak chips. And simply enough, we're just gonna get this whole thing filled up, kind of alternating between the two. Handful of pellets, handful of wood chips, and we repeat. And simply enough, light it up. And that should smoke away for the next 5-6 hours or so, giving us a lot of extra smoke on this brisket and hopefully some lovely flavor. And because I've got a pretty hectic day today and I don't want to keep checking in on this thing, I'm gonna go ahead and bust out my ThermalWorks RFX wireless probe and stick that right in the thick part of the flat, right dead center. That way I can keep an eye on temps without having to check in on this thing all the time. And especially because I don't want to stay up all night, I want to keep this lid closed for as long as possible to make sure this cooks as quickly as possible. So now we let it smoke away. Look at those pretty flowers over there. And if you want to pick up the best leave-in wireless probe thermometer on the market, you can head over to thermalworks.com and use code CHUDSBBQ at checkout to save 15% off your order of the starter kit. It's the best deal on the internet right now, and it's only running for the next few days, and I highly recommend these.
Great, that's the second ad we've had in this video.
They come in super handy. Again, that's code CHUDSBBQ at thermalworks.com. But while that brisket cooks away, we can get started on everything else. These are some ribs. Pat them dry. And what I've got here is an absolutely massive rack of spare ribs. Look at all the extra fat on there. That's crazy. But the ribs themselves look very nice and thick. A lot of good intramuscular fat on there, so they should cook up perfect.
Great, but the problem with spare ribs is you have to trim the shit out of them.
And I don't plan on cooking these until tomorrow, but we've got plenty of time on our hands, so might as well get them trimmed up now. Also, I can use all this meat to make some sausage. And that's kind of the challenge of this video, is trying to find out the perfect schedule for getting all this stuff cooked on time. And I thought about doing an overnight brisket cook, where I could just wake up morning of, finish off the brisket, then cook ribs and sausage, but I kind of like this approach better, where we have an entire day just to let that brisket cook. We can keep an eye on things, and have plenty of time on our hands to get everything else knocked out, instead of trying to rush everything right at the end. But to get these trimmed up is super easy. We'll start on the back side, taking off this skirt meat. Just zip that right on off. Also start cleaning up the back if there's any big chunks of fat or anything back here. Then we'll take off this breastbone, going right about there. Look at the size of that. That's massive. Find that bone. Save all that for rendering down into lard or adding to sausage or something like that. Next up, we'll kind of square this end off where that last little baby bone is. Flip it over. And now give this some shape by taking off this really thin meat right at the top here.
Also, if I was gonna make sausage, I wouldn't choose spare rib meat either.
Rounding off our corners and just making everything look pretty. Over here we got this little tiny muscle, so we might as well zip that off as well. And there we go, a perfect looking rack of spare ribs, nice and thick, nice and meaty, nice and fatty. Membrane is staying on, that's how I roll, but take it off if that's your style. But now I'm going to set these aside until we need them tomorrow. And in the meantime, I'm going to go through all this rib meat we just took off, make sure there's no bones or cartilage or anything in there, and get this cubed up. And I know I talk all the time about how important it is to use your trimmings, whether you cook a lot of backyard barbecue like me, or especially if you're a restaurant. And that's because we paid the exact same amount of money per pound for all that trim that we did for the brisket and or ribs themselves. And it would be a waste not to use it. And to put it into perspective.
Look, I get that, but We'll see if you got enough fat, sweetheart.
Effective. This is all the trim we just accumulated with one rack of ribs and one brisket. Granted, it was a super ugly brisket and also a super ugly rack of ribs. That's a lot. But whenever I'm trimming stuff, I'll always break it down. So what we've got here is all the fat. This is our...
I didn't do a Lord of Patriarchy stream. I just did the Tim Pool video.
Pork fat and our brisket fat. Over here is our lean-ish meat. We got the brisket over here and all the rib meat on top. And then in the middle is all the beef that was kind of the scraggly bits. Pretty fatty. I usually save this for making burgers. But with all this meat and all this fat, I think we should whip up some sausage. So I weighed out 2 pounds of beef, 2 pounds of pork, and 1 pound of fat, giving us an 80-20 meat to fat ratio. But because that rib trim is a little fatty and that brisket trim's got some intramuscular fat, it's probably closer to a 70-30, but all chunked up, 5 pounds total. Into the freezer this goes to get nice and cold for a clean grind. And now that our meat is nice and cold,
I actually do have to get a new one of them.
well, through the meat grinder we go. Got the coarse die on there and we're gonna go through one time. And because we're making a classic Texas barbecue tray, I figured we might as well knock out some jalapeno cheddar. So I'm also gonna send through some jalapenos with all this meat. Seeds.
Oh my god, finally, somebody that can add cheese to meat, and because it'll hopefully stay in the sausage casing, it'll be fine.
And all. Boop. Beautiful grind on that. Might as well grind all this fat too for making some tallow. And with all of our meat and jalapenos ground up, in we go with our spices. And to keep things easy, I'm going in with a Chud's Barbecue Nice and Plump starter pack, which is rated for exactly 5 pounds of meat. And it's got the salt content you're after as well as the milk powder binder in there, just to make life easier. But I'm gonna doctor it up a little bit by adding some pink curing salt for a nice cured link. Also gonna go in with some ancho powder, as well as a little bit of cumin, because I'm feeling frisky today. And we'll get that all mixed up. And once all our spices are evenly mixed in, we'll go in with our water. 10% by weight, and we'll start mixing everything up until it's nice and sticky and nice and tacky. And after about 4 or 5 minutes of kneading and everything is looking nice and sticky, in we go with our cheese. This is some high temp cheddar cheese, which is already cubed up. And if you don't know,
Well, you're putting it in casing, so this, oh my god. This is the one time you actually didn't need the high temp cheddar cheese.
to get this stuff, go to chudsbarbecue.com. We sell it now. And we'll get this all folded in until everything is nicely mixed up. And we've got even cheese studdage. Beautiful.
The legend is told again, even greater than before.
Thou art of the bloodline of mighty Erdrick. Is this true?
Going on with some natural hog casings today. These are right around
I'm sorry, Dragon Quest sucked.
30 mil, I believe. Tie it off. Snip the tip. And we case away. Just some average wieners today, folks. Just gonna rip through it nice and quick before the flies devour it or me whole. Twisty, twisty. Nice and plump. Twist, twist, twist. And we repeat. We also sell these casings on our website too, and I highly recommend picking them up because they're the highest quality casings that I've ever had, which is why you never really see me having blowouts. Although I shouldn't have just said that mid-casing. But if you've ever made sausage, you know that the quality of the casing makes a really big impact on your experience. And just like that, all...
Or you give them adequate enough space when you wrap them up to expand.
cased up, looking absolutely beautiful, nice and plump, nice and
Although I will say those things look fucking fantastic.
easy. So now into the fridge these go to cure overnight, uncovered to let those casings dry out a little bit, let the salt and pink salt do its work, and we'll check back in on these tomorrow. Next up, let's knock out some quick pickles.
The mandolin.
And to make our pickle brine, we're gonna go into this pot with some water and some white vinegar, as well as some white sugar and some kosher salt. And we're gonna bring that up to a boil. And once up to a ripping hot boil.
Okay, how is this thing a heat source? What black magic is this?
Over the cucumbers, garlic, dill, and black peppercorns we go, trying to spill as much as possible. Beauty. Lid on. And now we're gonna set these aside at room temp for the next little bit to cool down, let all that heat kind of cook the veg in there. And once it's cooled down to room temp, into the fridge these go until we need them tomorrow. Quick batch of homemade barbecue sauce? Why not? Into a pot we'll go in with some Worcestershire sauce and some apple cider vinegar, as well as some brown sugar. And I'll throw the salt in there too. And bring that up to a simmer until everything is nice.
By the way, if you have Amazon, get those fucking deli containers. Those things are fucking fire and wonderful and make life 1,000 times easier in the kitchen.
Dissolved. And once nice and toasty and dissolved, in with everything else, including some ketchup, some yellow mustard, some black pepper, dry mustard, cumin, granulated garlic, granulated onion, some paprika, some ancho chili powder, and some cayenne. And just get that all mixed up. And just like that, our homemade barbecue sauce is done.
That looks like shit.
Now, no barbecue tray is complete without some white bread, so let's knock that out too. Starting with some milk and some
Oh god, he's gonna make the white bread. Ah, fuck.
water.
Just go to the store and buy a loaf of Texas toast.
Yeast, and our sugar. Followed by some bread flour, some dough conditioner, and our salt. And let that all come together. And then in with some softened butter. And now let this mix for about 6 minutes. Beautiful supple dough ball. Into a bowl, we're gonna cover this up and let this rise for the next hour to hour and 1/2. And once our dough has doubled in size, oh god, out it comes. Boop. And we're gonna punch all the air out. Bust out your handy dandy rolling pin so we can pop any of the big bubbles in there so you don't end up with too big of a crumb. And now we're gonna roll this up, trying to make it the same size as this loaf pan. Just a nice tight roll. Flip it over and pinch that seam together, ends as well, until we've got a nice little log. And then we're gonna aggressively grease our bread pan. Oops. And in with our little baby log. Make sure it's sitting nice in there, trying to make it as even as possible. Now we're gonna cover this up and let this rise for probably
I will say though, if you've ever made your own bread baking is one of the most intoxicating smells on the fucking planet.
about 25-30 minutes. And once risen up just a little bit above the lid here, it's time to bake it off. So into a 350-degree oven this goes for about 20 minutes. And just like that, out of the oven, looking absolutely beautiful. Love the color on that, feeling great, smelling wonderful. So we'll pop it out, and there we go. Beautiful looking loaf of bread. Gonna pop this onto a wire rack for a little bit to cool down, and then we're probably gonna wrap it in plastic wrap and save it until tomorrow. Which is kind of the beauty of a recipe like this, is I would love to slice into it right now and get some freshly made white bread, but after a night wrapped in plastic, it's gonna get even softer and even fluffier, and be a little bit easier to slice. So we'll slice into this tomorrow. In the meantime, let's check back in on this brisket. You gotta love a cook where you don't open the lid once. Ooh, it's looking pretty good. Little bit of pooling happening, but really not bad. Give that a little tip, but bark is looking good, looking nice and smoky, feeling really tough, which is to be expected. And let's check the app and see what the internal temp on this thing is. 164, so right in the middle of the stall. Gotta love that. So I'm probably gonna bump the temps at this point. And because we're starting to get into fat rendering territory, I'm gonna throw a water pan underneath it. Just a foil pan to collect all the juices coming out and all the drippings so we don't make a mess of the old smoker here. And we'll put some water in there as well, just to create a little bit of a heat sink and add some more moisture to the cooking chamber. But I think I'm just gonna keep it right where it is and bump the temps up to probably 200 degrees for the next hour or so. And again, I'll say this has been an incredibly easy cook with that RFX in there and the fully automated pellet grill cook, but I'll keep you posted. 13 and the casings look nice and dry, so let's go ahead and snip them all apart.
Wait a second.
Looking good. Back in roughly the same spot. This is still feeling hard as a rock, and we need to render this top fat. So back on the pit we go. Smells like brisket. And at this point, we're gonna bump the temps on this pit a little bit. According to this thermometer, I want it to be anywhere from 275 to 300. So I'm probably gonna bump the pit itself up to about 275, maybe 280, and let it finish off. And at this point, we're gonna power forward until we get upward in temp around 200, 205, according to the RFX. And once we get into that range, I'm gonna start feeling it, poking the top to make sure the fat is nicely rendered, and feeling underneath to make sure it is nice and squishy. So hopefully not too much longer on this brisket cook, but I'll keep you posted. 13 13 hours later on the dot, and this brisket is done. Taking a look at it, it is feeling nice and squishy. That fat is rendered perfectly, feeling nice and pillowy, nice and squishy. But more importantly, when we feel it from the underside, it's feeling nice and jiggly, nice and pillowy. So I'm gonna pull this off. What do you know? Still holds true. And now we're gonna let this rest down to an internal temperature of about 150 degrees at room temperature before popping it into a food warmer at 150 degrees overnight. One overnight later. Out of the fridge these come, and they are looking absolutely beautiful, nice and plump, definitely cured, and the casings look nice and dry. So let's go ahead and snip them all apart.
Okay, so you put it in the food. I don't get this.
Looking good. Let's go ahead and throw them on the pit. And while we wait for those links to smoke away, let's go ahead and get our ribs seasoned up.
Links take a hell of a lot less time than ribs.
My goodness, what a beautiful looking rack of ribs, nice and thick. Look at the marbling on that. But for seasoning today, we're gonna keep it pretty simple. We got some good old salt and pepper, but not just any salt, secret salt, because it tastes really good. Just a nice dusting all over these bad boys. And the secret salt is essentially just a seasoned salt, but it's made with kosher salt, which is really convenient because I can just use my normal muscle memory for salt, as opposed to something super fine. But nice layer of that, and of course some 16 mesh black pepper. Flip them over, and we'll do the same to the top side as well. And we're gonna try not to forget the sides, although not really as important on a rack of ribs, but might as well be thorough.
You're not gonna believe.
Dude, I don't open the fucking lines on this channel. Fuck off.
What happened. Tell me everything. I'll show you on Monday.com. So I started the biggest initiative of.
And that's looking pretty much perfect to me. Let's throw them on the pit. We're about 3 hours into this cold smoke at this point, and these links are looking nice and red and nice and smoky. And I'm gonna start these ribs out down here because we don't have any room with all these sausages in the way. And we'll get a little cold smoke on those ribs too. And obviously we don't want to cold smoke those ribs for too long because they're not cured or anything like that, but they are fresh out of the fridge, so they're pretty cold still. So we could probably get away with a good.
Whoa, they're fresh out of the oh my God. Always, 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 always allow your meat to rise to room temperature before you put it on the heat. Don't take it directly out of the fucking fridge. What'll happen is, it's done on the outside, but raw on the inside. It will not cook properly.
Good 30, 45 minutes on there, just to let a little bit of extra smoke penetrate those ribs, giving us some good flavor. But we'll check back in on those.
Now, yes, he's going low and slow, but even low and slow, I would let it come up to room temperature.
In a little bit. We're about 30, maybe 45 minutes later on this cook. Ribs are looking pretty much the same, sweating a little bit. But more importantly, these sausages have been thoroughly cold smoked, looking nice and smoky. Casings are dried out, but now we gotta cook these through. So I'm gonna pop this thing on. Boop. It's probably about 150 just to let these.
Why do you have to do that? They're smoked brats. All the fat and all the cheese is in there. Why would you do this?
Come up to temp a little bit. And to keep an eye on temps, I'm gonna put an RFX into one of these sausages so we can keep an eye on things, make sure we don't overcook them. But really, we're just trying to bring these up to an internal temperature of about 150 degrees. And because I got a bunch of these probes, might as well stick one in the ribs too. Beautiful. Still got probably an hour or so left of cold smoke in that smoke tube, so everything should come out nice and smoky. And honestly, when I was planning this video, I thought it was going to be a pretty daunting shoot, you know, making sauce and bread and pickles and brisket and ribs and sausage. But it's been pretty easy, you know, plenty of time to do it. And especially with that pit keeping an eye on temperature for me and all the alerts on my phone from the RFX letting me know when meat is coming up to temp and ready to pull and all that. Easy peasy. Pretty stress-free cook so far, so very doable for the home cook. And now we're just sitting pretty, waiting for sausage to come up to an internal of 150 and get those ribs cooked all the way through, and then it's time to feast. And just like that, after 30, 40 minutes or so, these sausages are done and looking absolutely magnificent, if I do say so myself. I mean, look at the color on that, nice and plump, no blowouts or anything like that. See all that cheese and jalapeno in there, very pleased with how these are looking. Ribs are getting nice and smoky down below, but we're gonna pull these off and drop them into an ice bath real quick.
Oh, don't drop them into an ice bath! Oh, God, why? Just bring them into the damn house! Great. So they didn't burst, but you're gonna make damn sure they do. All right. I guess if I'm gonna get mad at someone, I should probably get mad at somebody that deserves it. Cooking with Jack, homemade Uncrustables. Now, I'm assuming he's talking about the Smucker's Uncrustables, which is just 2 pieces of white bread that have been made into a peanut butter and jelly ravioli. Right. You can't fuck this up. This is not that hard. Literally what the dish is on is the picture on the fucking box.
You are watching the Cooking with Jack show.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Jack Scalfani, Cooking with Jack show. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Hit the notification bell because that'll alert you.
Alright, already I'm terrified. Why is there biscuit dough? Why is there Jimmy Dean sausages? Why is there fucking cheese? And I don't even know what this thing in the tub is!
When new videos pop up. Today we're making our own Uncrustables. So we know a lot of foods are processed, a lot of things that are pre-made.
A lot of food that's processed. You have processed biscuit dough, processed whatever the fuck this thing in the tub is, processed cheese, processed peanut butter and jelly, and oh yes, before I go, processed sausage. Everything on this fucking table is processed. Oh, this is gonna be bad. This is going to be fucking bad.
Got a bunch of crap in it.
By the way, when people lived to an average age of 30, everything they were eating was free range and organically grown. So don't shit on processing that much.
We're going to recreate Uncrustables. I saw a new way to do it.
Dude, I can fucking make scratch-made biscuits so good your grandma's fucking cunt will finally be wet again.
Creative. So we'll see if it's any good. We're going to tantalize you PB&J people. We're going to tantalize
Core Power, a delicious way to fight post-workout fatigue.
You combed through every last piece of evidence. You made the final.
your salty and sweet people and your savory people.
Okay, fine. Sorry. Not your grandma's cunt, your mom's cunt.
So, come on in close. Let's go over all the ingredients and get started. Okay, guys, we got sliced cheese. We got ham.
So it's pre-sliced cheese, ham that was sliced over 6 fucking months ago, and he's bitching about processed food. This is also a man that has had 3 fucking strokes and refuses to do a goddamn thing about it. To alter his diet, to do any sort of therapy, to get the use of what I assume is his left hand back, because the camera reverses everything.
We got Jimmy Dean, fully cooked sausages. We got peanut butter. We got jelly. And we've got Grand biscuits. Grand.
Except Uncrustables are not a sandwich in between biscuits. They're a sandwich between 2 pieces of white fucking bread. Then you toast up!
And the bigger the better. So we got 2 of those. So let me lay these
Oh,
out.
my heavenly Father and all that is holy.
And I'll go over everything. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is to separate.
Oh, yeah, your fucking whore wife Tammy did that. By the way, that's his actual wife's name. I'm not making that up.
All your.
And by the way, if you actually go into Jack lore, no. His wife, Tammy, is not his first wife. She's his second wife. And she is a complete fucking cunt!
Biscuits.
A complete fucking religious Christian cunt. Like, the definition of it.
In half. You may be able to separate the layers and pull them apart. If not, just take a knife, carefully slice them in half, like we did. Okay? Then we're going to start.
You carefully cut them in half with a knife. What is this? People that actually know how to use a knife and you? Like the top row is you and everyone else can actually... How hard is it to cut dough? You can do it with a fucking string! Oh my god! And no, I don't care if he's had a stroke. I don't care if he's crippled. I'll insult a blind man. I'll insult a deaf man. I'll insult a crippled man.
Start placing all of our ingredients in the biscuits. So let's do that right now.
You think I'm a Christian, Q? If you believe that, then I have some lovely waterfront property I'd love to sell you in Florida.
So as you can see here, we put a little peanut butter and jelly on each biscuit. 4 of them.
Okay, but that's not an Uncrustable. That would be... I don't know what this would be, but this would be this. It'd be a peanut butter and jelly biscuit. Second off, you couldn't even spread the fucking jelly right! What the hell is that?
Well, the other 4 we're going to do with the ham and cheese. Let's do that right now. Okay, guys, so 4 of them we got the PB&J. 4 of them we got the ham and...
Okay, now you have dough, so it should be easy for you to form a proper seal. Why am I acting like this is going to turn out well?
And pepper jack cheese. We're going to top them all now. This one got a little messy.
That's not a proper seal.
Bake them.
Oh my god, that's not a proper seal! What's gonna happen is it's gonna heat up and oh my god, everything's gonna... Oh my god!
Just nice.
Look, get your stupid fucking Jesus cocksucking wife, Tammy, to fucking do this for you.
Press them to the edge.
You have a hole in the middle. You've already failed. You suck. Oh my God.
It's gonna, some of them may be gooey, like that one. Give it just a
There's no seal. There's no anything. There's nothing.
slight press around the perimeter. Okay.
You need to form a seal if you're going to do this juicy Lucy shit.
Get them all covered. And play around with it. Get like pepperoni and mozzarella.
I guarantee you I could be dead ass drunk. I could literally get up right now. Do this if I had the ingredients, and mine would come out better than yours.
You can do different.
But I don't have ham. I have pepper jack, but I don't have pre-made biscuit dough. And I can't get it. I could probably dry it myself, but the law says I can't.
Different flavors, different stuffings. Okay. I mean, you can do like grilled chicken. Little
And Lord knows I'm not paying the extra money for DoorDash or whatever the fuck.
Alfredo sauce. Mozzarella.
Oh God, none of these are sealed! They're just gonna melt all the fuck over! Oh, God in heaven, also it's biscuits! You don't want that? Ah, fuck me. God, fuck my ass with a bag of grass. Oh, shit.
What you doing, Zach?
I'm rehearsing for our T-Mobile home internet commercial. You gotta talk really fast.
T-Mobile home internet ranks #1 in customer satisfaction.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
All right, guys, these look beautiful.
No, they look like shit.
We're gonna give each one a taste. We're gonna leave the jelly and sausage for last because I never would have thought of that. So
The Lion of Judah? Which one are you talking about? Christ, Horus, or the 1,500 other gods that fit that description?
I don't want to taint my taste buds for the rest of them. So let's try the ham and cheese, okay? Mmm. Buttery biscuit. Good. They go good together. They go good together. Maybe.
Here's a thought, Jack. You know, why did your God punish you with multiple strokes and the loss of an arm? You've been a good Christian your whole life. Why did he punish you? Meanwhile, me, I'm a sinner extraordinaire. I got both my fucking arms.
I'd recommend a dollop of mustard, mayonnaise, some sort of condiment in there, just a drop. But they're totally good without it. But it would be better with it. All right? Now.
No. I would not want to live like this. If I ever got crippled, I would find a way to take care of myself.
Let's try. This is sausage and cheese.
I take the Hunter S. Thompson way out.
That's really good. That's way better than the ham and cheese. So, I guess the sausage had a little grease. Very little. That
Doesn't matter. We're all fucking dead in the end anyway.
soaked into the biscuit,
I'd rather have fun now.
giving it more sausage flavor. Tastes really good. All right, let's try PB&J. Here we go. Okay. I usually don't eat PB&J, but
I'm upset because I have to deal with this shit, but generally, no, I'm happy. In fact, after this, I'm either going to go cook something or I'm going to go play video games, to which I may or may not broadcast.
one of my favorite dishes as a kid growing up was grilled PB&J. If you've never had it hot,
Yeah, then just get 2 slices of bread, 1 peanut butter, 1 jelly, slather butter on both sides of the fucking bread, and just have that. You had it between bread, not biscuit. Ah, fuck it, I don't care. This one broke me. Good night, everyone.
You see
So
this?